And welcome back to our program. Thom Hartmann here with you. And in the studio with me, I am incredibly honored to have Kumi Naidoo, the International Executive Director of Greenpeace. Kumi, welcome back to the program.
Thank you very much, Tom. Good to be back.
It is so good to have you with us. Greenpeace is always doing all kinds of stuff all over the world, but there's a couple of things at the top of your agenda, I'm guessing. Where do you want to start in this conversation?
Perhaps we should talk about the recent arrests of 30 Greenpeace activists who are now in prison
in Russia,
yeah, as we speak. This is related to our campaign to discourage oil and gas companies from going to drill in the Arctic. The only reason, even the possibility of drilling in the Arctic is because of burning fossil fuels in the first place.
Right.
And in the summer months now, in the Arctic, the ocean comes alive, meaning that the ice is disappearing. And last year, we reached the lowest minimum level of ice in the Arctic. Now, people might think, well, what's the big deal about that? The Arctic sea ice serves as a refrigerator or air conditioner for the planet. It regulates global temperature. It reflects, quite a lot of the sun's rays back into the atmosphere. So the taking away of the Arctic sea ice in the summer months is already beginning to have an impact on climate and will continue to do so. So the first company that is about to start actual drilling in the Arctic is a Russian state company called Gazprom. Now, there are several other companies that are prospecting. Shell is prospecting in the American, Alaskan Arctic. A British company, Kern, was in Greenland. We waged a campaign against them. I spent 5 days in prison as a result of occupying that rig. Wow. Many of my other colleagues, this was in 2012, many of my other colleagues spent even longer time. But I'm happy to say that Kern Energy is out of the Arctic. But the first company that is threatening anyway to move beyond exploration and actually start drilling is Gazprom. So last year we did an action. I participated in it as well. We were there for 7 days. We managed to stop the production, and then they suspended operations last year because it was getting close to the winter months. And this time round, we did exactly the same action, but this time we had heavy state response. Our activists who were trying to get up the rig on the outside of the rig, because we don't get into the rig. Sure. We get out of the rig with our messages.
So you're out on the outside of the oil rigs holding up a banner.
Yes, but it's quite a tricky thing because you've got to sort of find a sturdy thing that you can get a rope on and then quickly climb up. This time, as two of our colleagues were going up, they were literally kind of jerked down. You can see the footage of them screaming because it's extremely dangerous. You fall normally in that water and you're dead in like 3 minutes because the hypothermia. But our colleagues have, protective gear, but that protects you for 2 hours max. So this time around, they fired about 11 shots at the colleagues on the inflatable boats. They terrorized the people who were up there, knocking their body against concrete. And anyway, they eventually came down and they were arrested, 2 of them. And then the rest of the people were then on our ship, the Arctic Sunrise. Right. And then helicopters were suddenly above us, and commandos dropped onto the ship with guns, knives, terrified our crew, got them under gunpoint to lay on the deck of the ship, and then said to our captain, who's an American called Pete Wilcox. Interestingly, Pete Wilcox was also the captain on the Rainbow Warrior that was bombed by the French Secret Service 27 years ago in Auckland, New Zealand, when that ship was about to try to stop the French from nuclear testing. Right. So Pete, knowing international law, said, listen, we are in international waters. The ship was outside of the exclusion zone around the rig, and said, what you've done, you have no basis to occupy the rig, and for that reason, I'm not going to give you cooperation. I'm not going to, because they said he needs to get the ship moving and to follow them to Murmansk, which is the nearest city, which is like 3 hours away. Right. And so they towed the boat for 3 days. Our activists arrived 2 days ago in port. Yesterday they were taken to court. And incredibly, they've been charged with piracy. I beg your pardon, they've not been charged with piracy. They've been, the courts ordered them to be locked up for 2 months in what is euphemistically called pre-trial detention. Right. During my anti-apartheid struggle days, we used to simply call that detention without trial. Right. Pre-trial detention is a euphemism. Yeah. And during which time they will investigate piracy charges. Now, piracy, firstly, piracy is more than one ship. Pirates generally have weapons. We don't have a single weapon on us. And piracy is also for personal gain, right? None of these conditions actually prevail. And actually, President Putin, speaking 2 days ago at the Arctic Council meeting, which was actually happening in a Russian Arctic town, did actually say, of course, Greenpeace is not pirates, but we thought that this was just speculation, and we were staggered yesterday when they pursued the piracy charge.
Well, never underestimate the power of a giant oil company, even if it's largely or partially state-owned. What can people do? Well, beyond going to Greenpeace.org and educating themselves and kicking in a little help.
Okay, I think firstly the American people must realize that there's an American hero involved here, Pete Wilcox.
He's one of the people arrested.
Yeah, he's the captain of the ship. He has been doing environmental justice work for 30 years, and he's an outstanding human being. I've met him several times. Humble, quiet, cool, calm, and collected, and maximum solidarity should be offered to him. So what I would say is right now, people listening to the program should be writing to their local representatives and their representatives,
their members of Congress,
saying there's an American citizen together with 29 other people being held under these conditions, and to call on the U.S. government to get actively involved in speaking out publicly on the situation. Now, our ship sails under Dutch flag, and the Dutch government has been very good, and the Dutch government has already been in touch with the Russian authorities asking for the release of the ship and the activists. We would like to see the U.S. government consider likewise. More than that, I think we don't want, and I'm sure our 30 activists wouldn't want the focus to be just on them. Right. They would want people to focus on the issue for which they put their lives on the line.
Sure.
And the issue is that we are running out of time to avert catastrophic climate change.
Absolutely.
And I think what I would say about U.S. politicians right now and the U.S. business leadership in the main, even though there are exceptions, is that they're suffering from a really bad case of denial. Mm-hmm. All the facts are there. If you look at the United States alone, the drought that impacted on more than 13 states last year is one indication. The intensity, ferocity, and power of Hurricane Sandy. Of course, hurricanes always happen, but what we are seeing is that the intensity of the storms and so on.
Oh, these mile-wide tornadoes across the Midwest.
Exactly, and Colorado first time we're seeing flooding like that in more than 1,000 years. Yeah. So I think the writing, there are two things laying it out very clear. On the one hand, global scientific consensus is clear that we are running out of time. Right. And on the other hand, Mother Nature itself is speaking very eloquently and powerfully through extreme weather events. In the last 10 years, I was having a meeting with, in the last 10 years, what we see is 10% increase in storms. Amazing. So the writing is on the wall.
Kumi Naidoo, Greenpeace.org. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Get over to Greenpeace.org and you can read the whole story, get all the information, find out what you can do, and contact your member of Congress. Kumi Naidoo, the International Executive Director of Greenpeace.